Judge, if you recall, when we had talked about moving this trial in the week, we said there may be some times when we have witnesses that aren't quite here yet. So we had talked about this linear progression as well, which I think is the best thing for the jury. We have two people that are on their way that are the next in line. One said they'd be here from 10 to 10:15. He is the next, but he's not here yet. And then one said that he thinks he'll be here at 10:45. They're both with their babies, and they're getting babysitters. But that's where we are. I mean, that's just the reality of
where are they coming from?
Close by Corbin, I believe.
10:15.
Supposed to be here by 10:15. I can.
We can take a break. We can take
Mr. Cornett up for 5 minutes, maybe 2 minutes of testimony, just to say bring Kevin Dixon's name up, and then we're going to get into some of those issues.
Okay.
But then I think it would be best if we just until they get here.
Okay. Do you have the cell numbers?
We were in contact with them, continuous.
So you want to recall Mr. Cornett?
We'll recall Mr. Cornett briefly, and then wait for them to get here.
If we need to.
But if the court could, I don't really want it to be negative to defense or to the prosecution that we have to. Nobody likes to stop. We don't want to. It's just a reality of what we're dealing with.
All right, we'll work with it when it gets here.
Okay, so when Mr. Cornett gets off
we'll see where we are.
Stand, can the court take a recess with that request? Thank you.
Your Honor, well, I found the case sites for the rejection earlier.
When it gets to the point where we're about to introduce these things, it might be appropriate to then take a recess so that we can look at it. Here I can.
Let me see the sign.
Okay. If you could make a copy for us, that'd be great.
What's this? It's 2 cases you're talking about?
2 Kentucky Supreme Court cases.
Okay. We'll make you a copy.
Thank you, Judge. Yes, all right. Judge, if you recall, when we had talked about moving this trial in the week, we said there may be some times when we have witnesses that aren't quite here yet. So we had talked about this linear progression.
Your Honor, he's started going to what Ms. Crabtree reported or said, which is hearsay.
Well, I've given. He's had some leeway.
They have opened the door. We have not touched this.
Yeah,
They've opened the door.
He brought up the report.
2 barn doors to this report.
Yes, he had. And I'm going to let him answer. Overruled.
Your Honor, he's started going to what Ms. Crabtree reported or said, which is hearsay.
Well, I've given. He's had some leeway.
They have opened the door. We have not touched this.
Yeah,
They've opened the door.
He brought up the report.
2 barn doors to this report.
Yes, he had. And I'm going to let him answer. Overruled. All right, you want to repeat the question?
Sorry, Bill, on this.
All right, go ahead.
So I'm sorry, I asked too vague of a question, and that's my bad. What I meant was that Kevin Dixon saying he wasn't there didn't match up with Jerry Mulkey saying he was there, and with Shannon Thompson saying his car was there, and with J.R. Farley saying that his car was there, right?
Yes, sir, there's conflicting statements. Hence the reason we collected the evidence from Mr. Dixon.
And that's my next question. So you had those witness statements, and after you got those witness statements, you collected his shoes and his clothes and confiscated his car, correct?
Yes, sir. Well, confiscated is a term that I would not use. He voluntarily let us keep his car for testing. He was cooperating.
Well, you towed it to the...
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's all the questions I had.
Okay.
Very brief follow-up, Your Honor. You were asked if Jerry Mulkey, the testimony of Kevin Dixon matched up with Jerry Mulkey, and that Jerry Mulkey had said he was there. Is that correct? Were you asked something concerning that?
Yes, I guess I should have clarified. She
Okay.
thought that that too was knocking at the door.
And did she, to you, and under your understanding, based upon the questions you've been asked and what you've reported today, did Jerry Mulkey have personal knowledge of Kevin Dixon being at Ronnie King's that night?
No, just other than what her brother had told her over the phone.
Over the phone. Okay. No further questions.
Is that it?
And again, I'm going to refer back to the police report. It's Detective Brian Johnson's report, but it states that Jerry again said that while she was speaking to Ronnie around 9 p.m., Ronnie said Kevin was there and that she heard Kevin's voice in the background. Isn't that what the police report says?
Let me find it, sir. In the supplement that Officer Brian Johnson has written, he states that Jerry said she did hear Kevin's voice while she was talking to Ronnie that evening around 9:30 or 10 o'clock.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Yes, Your Honor. Speaking about Jerry Mulkey now, in your supplement, is there a section that's titled with that name, Jerry Mulkey, in your investigation, rather?
If you can refer me to whatever page it is, sir, that'd help me look for it. I've got a stack of papers over here in my own hall.
Unfortunately, I'm attempting
Is
to locate that.
Is this a supplement from Brian Johnson?
This is not a supplement. This is your actual investigation. It's under Neighborhood Canvas, page 8 of 12.
Yes, sir.
Are you with me on that page now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, what does this information, what was reported to the Kentucky State Police concerning what the victim, Ronnie King, told Jerry Mulkey on the phone?
It says she's talking to her brother. She heard a knock at the door over the phone. Ronnie King informs her that Kevin was there and he needed to let her go. She states that she did not hear from him again.
Okay. So she's told the police that Ronnie King, the victim, informed her that Kevin was there?
Yes,
Okay. And he said that while they were on the phone.
yes,
Kevin is here.
yes.
No further questions.
Okay, is that it?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. No further questions, this witness. You missed that down. If you want to have some recall. Let's take a 10-minute break. Same admonition, folks. Don't talk about it. Don't talk to anyone else about it. We'll back in. All right, go ahead.
These first. Thank you. I just did my beverages.
Thank you.
We'll have to check on it.
I'm objecting to the questions concerning failing to pay, things of this nature. One, I would object for relevance. Two, I would object for prejudice, outweigh any probative value. To say that he hired off-duty police officers and didn't pay them.
What's the relevance of all this?
Well, it's true, but I can stop with that question and move on.
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of out in the weeds.
We are, but everything that goes to bias and credibility is important.
Well, how does that go to his credibility?
If he doesn't pay people he says he's going to
That's
pay.
not credibility.
That's not credibility.
But I'll move on.
Move on. Disdain.
These first. Thank you. I just did my beverages.
Thank you.
We'll have to check on it.
I'm objecting to the questions concerning failing to pay, things of this nature. One, I would object for relevance. Two, I would object for prejudice, outweigh any probative value.
May I say something?
No. If there's a question, you can respond to.
Okay, you didn't let me finish the.
You'll have a chance, I'm sure.
Okay, that's fine.
Now I have some maybe dumb questions, but you're Shelby's brother, so thought I'd ask you while you're here. Do you know?
May I say something?
No. If there's a question, you can respond to it.
Okay, you didn't let me finish the.
You'll have a chance, I'm sure.
Okay, that's fine.
Now I have some maybe dumb questions, but you're Shelby's brother, so thought I'd ask you while you're here. Do you know where Shelby lived in 2013, thereabouts that February?
In Berea,
Okay. Do you know who he lived with?
he lived with his wife,
Do you know her name?
Laura.
Okay. Do you know
I have no idea. I can't remember.
wife? Michelle at some point. Okay. Did you have a romantic relationship with Ronnie King?
With who?
With Ronnie King?
I never met Ronnie King.
You never met Ronnie King?
Never met Ronnie King.
Did you have a romantic relationship with Jimbo Collins?
No,
You've never kissed him?
no,
Do you have sex with other men?
no,
So you don't claim to be bisexual or gay?
no,
And you don't have a profile on Life Out?
no.
Did you date Laura before Shelby married her?
Yes,
Have you dated Pam Ray Stidham?
no,
Have you dated Lucinda, Cindy, Lay?
yes,
Have you dated Amanda Brown, Amanda Gaylor?
dated her my wife, ex-wife.
Either one works.
Yes, thank you.
You went to Marvin Lipford with your story about Shelby first, correct?
Yes,
That kind of got me off my topic, so I'll go back over to it. You reported, I'm just gonna bring up some things that you reported when you spoke with Marvin and spoke with Detective Cornett. Okay. You reported that a bookshelf was turned over, and that Shelby searched for a book that was full of money.
it was a secret hidden compartment book is what I heard, so that's all I know. There was really not really much going on with that, except for he just stated that. He didn't describe the book, he just said it was one of those compartment book things.
You said that Shelby was wearing your backpack and your SWAT boots, is that correct?
Yes, well, he had my bag, I don't know if he had my backpack or not, it was a backpack, it's just a little black bag.
At one point, it's possible that you may have told them that Cindy was Shelby's girlfriend. Do you think you could have been mistaken?
After it was over, I guess he contacted her and weaved her in, I don't know. But she contacted me and told me a bunch of stuff with Chevrolet. I don't even know that even part of it. I don't remember talking about that.
So in February of 2013, at the time that this murder was being investigated, Lucinda Cindy Lay was at times in a relationship with you, correct?
Yes,
You said that Shelby thought his fingerprints were on the door?
the door or the blinds one.
Okay.
It was the blinds mostly he had touched.
And you said that he cleaned the blood or tried to clean up the blood?
I can't remember, I can't recall.
Okay. Would it be fair that if you don't recall and I say that you said he cleaned up the blood, that's probably true? I don't want to replay it. I've got a transcript to refresh your memory though, if you'd like.
I don't know, I don't think he tried to clean up the blood. He slipped in the blood. He told me about he was sliding in the blood. He fell in the blood.
So on those shoes that were yours, you would expect that there would be blood from the crime scene,
I mean,
based on what Shelby told you.
on the pants leg, he had blood down it. I don't know what side of the pants leg, I can't recall that, but he said when he slipped and his knee hit the blood or something, and it splittered or something. It's just like it's.
You described certain items that Shelby allegedly told you came from the crime scene. Did you describe any guns or revolvers for the police?
The gun.
Is it possible you had trouble remembering the color of any gun handle?
Gun handle. Yes, right now I don't remember. The gun handle wasn't hardly visible. The only thing I ever seen on it, like I said, was the blue. It was a blued up 357 38 is what I know it was.
Did you report to the police that Shelby told you that he took Ronnie's tapes, security tapes?
Yeah, he said he took security or whatever. I mean, I don't know. But like I said, Shelby was always back and forth. He would say this, he would say that. He would come back and try to fill in gaps. So half the things you said was fake, some half the things was real. That's just the way it is.
And you didn't really explain how Shelby got there or how he got away from...
I've heard two different versions. Shelby, after it was all over and everything, is mentioned two different versions. But one is that he parked a car. One, that was nothing really... he said he parked a car, he had a car, and he had a truck at one time, and, it just, that's all he said. He never really elaborated on that and how he got there, so.
Okay. What kind of vehicle were you driving at the time?
It was a Dodge, what is it, I can't remember, let's see, wagon, there's a Dodge wagon little car, I can't remember the name of it right now.
Is that a Dart?
No,
No.
it was, I'm trying to remember the name of it, I can't remember the name of it. It's like a station wagon Dodge, what it is, I can't remember. I've had numerous cars. It was Lucinda Lay's vehicle, by the way.
Was that your vehicle or was that Cindy's vehicle?
I just said Lucinda Lay's vehicle.
Okay. So, in the story that you've told the police, some guy gave Shelby a ride, you don't know who,
No, I had no clue.
but it wasn't you.
No.
And you reported that Shelby burned his clothes in Jones's Creek?
Burned his clothes in Jones's Creek.
It's not my story.
I don't know. I don't call it. I don't know.
Okay.
I can't remember what he said done with the clothes. He burned them or something. I can't remember exact locations, but he did say something about getting rid of them somewhere.
Have you ever stated that Shelby's fingerprints came back from a national database?
I don't think, no.
Have you ever stated that Shelby's cell phone was at the scene of the crime?
There was a question later on that was asked about that, and I think Jimbo Collins was the one that asked him the question about it. Was him and his wife was present at the time, and he said, "Don't you know that they can ping cell phones?" And then she just, right out of the blue, just said, "Even if we took the battery out of it." So, that's all I know about that.
Okay. And you've stated that KSP has your fingerprints. Is that correct?
Yeah, I got them. They should have them.
Okay. And that you had an alibi.
Yes.
Have you stated that you had special response people watching John Paul Madden?
No.
So you're denying that statement today?
I don't remember that.
Let me go back to a couple more things.
Can we go back to the question about paying people?
About what?
About paying people.
I've already,
No, we're not going back to that.
sustained the objection on that.
We're not going
Let's
there.
move on.
Did you save the file that you allegedly gave to Shelby Shell in the car?
No, I never seen the
That
file after
12-inch file?
Never seen the file after that.
Oh.
Don't know what happened to it.
Didn't give it to the police, obviously.
I don't remember anything about it. He may have put it in the bag. I don't know what was in the bag. Like I said.
And you said Rodney King shot at Shelby Shell first, correct?
That's what he told me.
And you said that Rodney King had to give him a code for the safe, correct?
He said something about a code. I can't remember exactly.
And you said you were a bounty hunter for 12 years, correct?
I've been a bounty hunter about 17 or 18 years.
And there's no position of bounty hunter in the state of Kentucky, correct?
No.
And you drove Shelby Shell to Dehoyt, and he got out of the car and left a gun in the car, but you let him back in the car, correct?
He had the door open as he's using the bathroom.
And so, no time on Brothers' Day did you report to the police that you were afraid of Shelby Shell or that he had committed a crime?
I was scared of Shelby Hill. I was afraid.
You didn't report that to the police, correct?
Good point.
You didn't report it to Trooper Cottle or anybody at the roadblock, correct?
No, huh?
And I'll go back just a little bit. You had mentioned something about the internet. You have access to the internet, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You're on Facebook, for example.
Yes, ma'am.
And so you had 6 days with internet access to look up things about this crime. And you even said that you looked up some stuff on the
Yeah,
internet, correct?
I do.
Okay. That's all the questions I have for you. There may be redirect.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right, is this witness excused?
Subject to recall, subject to rebuttal.
All right, you may step down. Mr. Shell, you're still subject to recall, so hang around. Okay.
Your Honor, I believe my next witness would be, from my end, 5 minutes, and would set the stage for the next witness if the court wishes to do that after lunch.
Why don't we take a lunch break now and resume at 1?
Thank you.
How's that? All right, ladies and gentlemen, same admonition. I repeat over and over again, don't talk among yourselves about it. Don't form any opinions about this case. Don't speak to anyone else about it. If you're approached, tell them you can't talk about it, and report any of that back to me. Otherwise, leave your notepads with your seat on the bench there. Thank you. All right, let's go off the record and have a lunch. Just,
Don't stay on the record.
no, we don't need to be on it. Just,
Don't stay on the record.
no, we don't need to be on it. Just,
Don't stay on the record.
no, we don't need to be on it. Just go to 20. Just take us off the record. All right, back on the record this afternoon after lunch in Commonwealth versus Shelby Shell. All right, back on the record this afternoon after lunch in Commonwealth versus Shelby Shell. We're still in the prosecution's case in chief, so call your next witness this week.
Yes, Your Honor. Commonwealth calls from the Kentucky State Police, Danny Cottle.
Danny Cottle. All right. Truth Cottle, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm any testimony you give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. Have a seat and speak up loudly and clearly so we can all hear you. All right, Mr. Lee.
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Cottle, if you could, will you introduce yourself to the jury?
Yes, my name's Danny Cottle. I'm the operations lieutenant at KSP Post 10 Harlan.
All right, in the year 2013, specifically February of 2013, were you the operations lieutenant at Harlan at that point in time?
No, sir, I was a trooper assigned to Harlan.
Okay, assigned to Harlan though?
Yes, sir.
Post 10?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The questioning that I have for you is really limited in scope. I'm going to ask you specifically about a roadblock that you may or may not have participated in on or about the latter part of February 2013. Do you recall participating in any roadblocks around that time?
Yes, sir.
Okay. With more specificity, I'll ask you, do you recall participating in a roadblock wherein an individual named Ernie Shell passed through?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And are you familiar with Mr. Ernie Shell?
Yes, sir.
Do you recognize him by his appearance?
Yes, sir.
Did you in 2013 recognize him by his appearance?
Yes, sir.
In the latter part of February 2013, specifically between February 20th and 25th, did you participate in a roadblock where Ernie Shell passed through and you visualized him?
Yes.
Was there only one time in that time period where that occurred?
Yes, sir.
Okay. During that time, did you observe Ernie Shell as a passenger, as a driver? What did you observe?
He was the driver.
Okay. How many people were in the vehicle?
2,
Who was the other individual in the vehicle?
Shelby Shell.
Shelby Shell.
Yes, sir.
And by Shelby Shell, are you referring to the defendant here today at this table?
Yes, sir.
So Ernie Shell and Shelby Shell passed through a roadblock of the Kentucky State Police that you participated in at the end of February 2013.
Yes, sir.
Okay. At any point in time were you ever asked whether or not such an incident had occurred by colleagues of yours with the Kentucky State Police?
Yes, sir.
And who would have asked you that?
Detective Mike Cornick.
Okay. Do you know in what regard, why was he asking you that information?
He asked if Ernie and Shelby came through the roadblock on that night, and I said yes. And then he went on to tell me that he had had contact with Ernie and about the conversation he had with Ernie.
Okay.
And that was it.
Okay. And you did state that yes, you had seen them through that roadblock.
Yes.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Okay, any
Pass the
cross?
witness.
Any cross?
Trooper Cottle, you didn't cite Ernie Shell that when he passed through that roadblock, correct?
No, ma'am.
And do you recall, was it on February 24th of 2013, or
I don't recall the exact date.
do you recall when you spoke with or Detective Cornett about the roadblock?
It was the next day, maybe, following the road check.
And did Ernie Shell ask you for protection or help at that time?
No, we were looking for impaired drivers, and he pulled up. I knew Ernie and didn't think he was what we were looking for in that regard, and just sent him on through.
But he didn't make any effort to stop you. He was happy to be waved through.
If he made any efforts, I did not pick up on it. Absolutely.
That's all I have for you. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Release the witness, Your
all
Honor.
right. You're excused. Next witness.
Yes, Your Honor. Commonwealth recalls Mr. Michael Cornett.
All right, Mr. Cornett, you're still under oath.
Yes, sir, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Mr. Cornett, we continue to progress through this investigation of which you were leading in 2013, and the last that we had spoken here in front of the jury, you were informing us about Ernie Shell and him wishing to speak with you. Is that correct?
That's correct, yes, sir.
All right. He has since testified here today, so I'm going to ask you some questions about 2013 when Ernie Shell spoke with you. What stuck out to you as what was occurring as he's telling you these things that he wanted to inform you of? Can you walk me through your experience with that interview?
Some of the things he was talking about, the main thing that struck me as the information he was providing was pertinent was the zip ties. At that time, I hadn't really discussed the crime scene with anybody. I hadn't made any of my written reports. But through my years of investigation, you always keep something to yourself. That way, if a witness comes forward, and if they have information that you've kept to yourself and not put out, that kind of adds validity to their information they're providing. I had never made any emphasis or told anyone about the zip ties that I saw at the scene, and when he had particularly mentioned the zip ties being broken, that led me to believe that he had pertinent information that may be truthful. Part of also trying to, see whether he's truthful or not is I talked to Trooper Danny Call, Lieutenant Call, to see whether or not it was truthful that he had come through the road check with his brother, Shelby Shell, and that proved out to be true. He also brought a gentleman with him by James Collins who had information, and I took a statement from him, and they were each questioned and interviewed separately, and for the most part everything pretty well matched up with what they were told.
Okay, so you've introduced now through your testimony an individual named James Collins, correct?
Yes, sir.
The first time you spoke with James Collins concerning this investigation, when was that?
That was on the, I think the 25th,
Okay.
shortly after I interviewed Ernie Shell.
Okay, so give me a distance in time between talking to Ernie Shell and talking to James Collins. You recall about how long this took place?
We've been long, 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
10 minutes.
They both came together.
They came, where did they come to?
Came to the Kentucky State Police, Post 10 in Harlan. They came together.
All right. And is it true that you had stated previously concerning Ernie Shell coming, that you had actually arrived there from your house because this was the early hours of the morning?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what time are we talking about here?
After midnight, around between midnight, I arrived shortly after midnight. The interviews started taking place around 1 o'clock, so I don't have the exact time written down here. It will be on the actual cassette itself, but it's been somewhere between 1 and 2 in the morning.
Okay. So of the two, Ernie Shell and James Collins, with whom did you speak first?
Ernie Shell.
Ernie Shell? Okay. And when notified that James Collins wished to speak with you, did you at that point in time want to speak with him?
Yes, sir.
Did you do so?
I did. I took a recorded statement.
Okay. I have no further questions at this time, Your Honor.
Andrew Cross.
This is the last incident here.
Okay. He will probably be our last witness next time.
Okay, just a minute. Mr. Cornett, you said you got there at 12, midnight on the 25th,
Yeah,
thereabouts?
it's 12, I think 12:06 is what I had in my
Was that at
notes.
post 10?
Pardon?
Was that at post 10?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but you had actually been notified from, I guess, then Sheriff Marvin Litford
Yeah, he called me at home.
at his home or at your home?
My house. He called me at my house.
Okay. And that is, Sheriff Marvin Litford at the time was the star of a show, Kentucky Justice?
I don't know if it was at the time, but he did have a show, Kentucky Justice, but I don't know what time frame of the show was.
So he was on television?
I don't know if it was, if he's on TV at this time, during this time. He has been on TV, yes.
And he's subsequently, that sheriff.
Your Honor, may we
Well,
approach?
let me
Yes.
just, I'll move on. I don't,
All right, back on the record this afternoon after lunch in Commonwealth versus Shelby Shell. We're still in the prosecution's case in chief, so call your next witness this week.
Yes, Your Honor. Commonwealth calls from the Kentucky State Police. I make my objection for relevance. I make my objection for probative value far exceeded by.
To the TV question?
For the path that it would appear that he's going down.
I'm gonna stop the ad.
Okay.
I'm
All
gonna go
right,
down.
yeah, no more about TV shows and that kind of thing. Yeah, it's just.
Which is irrelevant here.
So Ernie Shell had spoken with Marvin Litford first, and then you all met up at post 10. Is that how I understand it?
That's how I understand it, yes, sir.
And you got there and the interview started sometime after 1 in the morning?
Yes, sir, thereabout, yeah. Yes, sir.
Got more questions, but I'm gonna ask them later, so we can move on. Thanks.
Anything else?
Your Honor, there's no redirect. We would ask that he the same stipulations here.
Right.
He will be recalled.
All right, you may step down, subject to recall, Mr. Bond.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Call your next witness.
Your Honor, Commonwealth calls James Collins.
James Collins. Mr. Collins, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm any testimony given in this trial will be the truth, the whole truth, and the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Have a seat there. Please speak up loudly and clearly so we can all hear you. All right, Mr. Collins.
Good afternoon, Mr. Collins. Would you spell your name, full name, please, for the record?
James Collins, James Collins.
And would you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury who you are and where you live?
I'm James Collins. I live in Corbin, Kentucky. Retired disabled, father of 4.
You recall back in February 2013 coming into some information from the defendant Shelby Shell.
Yes, sir.
Would you tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury how you knew Shelby Shell?
Yes, I actually know his brother, Ernie Shell. We met several years before that. I've known Ernie probably 15 years. We met actually pro wrestling. We both were pro wrestlers. Then we started promoting MMA events, some together, some as I would help him, he would help me. We formed a friendship over the years, and that's how I met his brother Shelby. Is Ernie introduced us. Shelby had fought on one of my events a long time ago, probably in the early 2000s. But I don't even recall.
What do you mean Shelby fought on one of your
He was an
events?
MMA participant.
Some of us may not know exactly what MMA is.
He was a mixed martial arts participant, in like cage fighting. But like I said, I didn't really meet him then. He signed up and fought. And there's been, several hundred men that have fought for me that I don't, didn't know on a personal level.
In what area? Where would you put on these matches?
That particular event was in Harlan County, Kentucky. I've promoted events all over Kentucky and Tennessee and Ohio.
And then there was, I guess, you say you got to know him again in 2013?
Yes, actually it was probably in 2012, late 2012. I remember it was around Thanksgiving. Ernie had brought Shelby over to my house and introduced him to me and my family and my mother. And Shelby had started coming around with Ernie then, and he was looking for work and whatnot, and things like that. So I hired him to do some jobs and let him work around my house some, and I actually loaned him money a couple times. So, and then, in February 2013 is when he borrowed money from me. I remember, and then I actually had him and Ernie both came over and they helped me move some furniture.
And you mentioned you were disabled. You said you had a disability.
Yes, I am disabled. My back and neck, I've got full disability on my back and neck. I've been disabled since 2008.
So you hired him to move some furniture at your home?
I did. Ernie and Shelby both came over. I don't remember what I paid them. I know I gave them some money.
This be after Christmas, January, February, or?
This would have been in February. And anyway, lost my train of thought.
I'd asked you about moving, and then we started talking about
Right.
that you needed him to help move because you were disabled, and so
Right.
he helped you. I think you said he helped you move in February.
He did. Well, yeah. And anyway, they helped us move furniture. The reason why that's relevant here is one night, I don't remember the day, I know it was in February. Shelby and Ernie came to my house, and Shelby was very vocal about a robbery he had committed, and had let it be known that he also murdered the man.
Before we get into that, and let me ask you, during the time that he helped move at your house, were there any, did you have anything go missing?
Yes, and that's what I was going to tell you with this. It all goes together because I didn't realize anything was missing until this night.
Okay.
When he had told us that, and I had talked to Ernie and I told him, I was like, let me check and see, if he's got a gun. He was in my house. I know in particular, I remember he asked to go use my bathroom, and my bathroom is in my bedroom, private bath in that house. So anyway, I checked my underwear drawer, where I had, and that was some of the things that were moved was drawers and shelves, and so I checked my drawer, and I had a .38 special pistol revolver, and it was gone. I had a brand new box of shells with no shells missing and had never been used. I bought at Walmart, Hollow Point, .38 special shells.
And those were missing?
Those were missing
and
too,
you
the entire box.
discovered that, when did you discover that?
I discovered that after talking to Ernie, and Ernie had told me that he thought his brother had robbed a man who in Everett that was mayor, former mayor.
Did you have the occasion there in February to talk with Shelby Shell in your home?
I did. He was at my house several times, but the night we talked about that particular thing, he and Ernie had come by, and it was in the evening. It was probably late February, mid to late February. Anyway, Ernie and Shelby came in. We went down to the basement. We talked, and Ernie was talking. Shelby was talking. Shelby had said that he was looking to get some money. Asked me if I knew anybody he could rob, and at this point he's openly discussing robbing people, and I know now that my gun's missing, and I'm in fear. So I told him I don't know anybody that that has that kind of money that he specifically said I need to hit a big lick. So I don't know anybody that.
Is that his terminology you used? Hit a big
Yes,
lick?
I need to hit a big lick. Said he had child support payments and other things that he needed to pay.
Had you ever loaned him any money for child support?
I had loaned him money before, yes. $70, I think, the week before that.
Did he pay you back?
Not yet.
Did he talk much about the situation there in Everett, the robbery in Everett?
Yes, he went into some detail that night. He was, he said that he went to the man's house. He said he knew the man growing up, knew he was rich, owned some apartments, ran some apartments, something. Said that he said the man was gay, and that he could get into his house, got into his house by telling he was, there to have sex with him, sexual intercourse, and that's how he gained entrance into the man's home, is that he led him to think they were going to have sex with each other.
Did he describe anything that he took or that he was able to get at the house, or was it successful robbery, or what did he tell you about it?
Well, he told me that, the man, he was naked, and that once he got him naked, he began to rob him, and it got physical. He said he tied him up with zip ties. He said the man was too strong and he broke free. So then he duct taped him. He said he stuck duct tape in his mouth and duct taped his mouth shut and his nose shut. He said he even tried to kill him that way, and the guy was just too strong and fought through. And that he ended up grabbing the pillow, putting it over his head, and shooting him. He did say that he tried to sell me things that he robbed, that he got in the robbery. He tried to sell me things early in the week. I didn't know they were
Before he talked about the
before he
robbery.
talked about a murder. Yes.
What type of things did he try to sell you earlier before he told you about?
He brought a ring by, and it had been smashed with a hammer. He had a jar of old wheat pennies. There may have been other old money in it, but I know it was pretty much full of wheat pennies. Old pennies, from the early 1900s.
Like a glass jar, a mason jar or something?
Yes. I think it was a mason jar. It was a big glass jar, probably 12 inches tall. And it was completely full of old money. And, he asked me what I'd give him for it, and I told him, that it's worth 1 penny a piece to me. I'm not a money collector, and I couldn't do anything with it other than take it to the bank. So he kept that, and he tried to sell it to somebody else. And I told him I didn't need the ring or any jewelry.
Could you describe the ring a little bit more in detail?
It was mangled. I couldn't tell you anything about it other than it was beaten up. He told me he took a hammer to it and tried to make it to where it couldn't be identified.
Did you buy anything from him?
I did not.
Why?
I didn't want to buy anything stolen from someone in a robbery.
Were you concerned?
Oh yeah, I was very concerned. I've got 4 children. At that time, 4 years ago, my oldest would have been 11 and my youngest would have been 5. So, I've got 4 young children, and my elderly mother, who's passed on now, living in the house with me. I was very fearful.
Do you recall anything else that he said that night and who was there? You were there, Shelby Shell was there, and his brother
Ernie Shell was there
and you
too.
all were down in the basement.
Yeah. Ernie had apparently been to Harlan with Shelby that day in their vehicle, one of their vehicles, I don't know.
And they stopped by your house.
And they came by my house on the way home. Shelby lived in Madison County, and I guess Ernie was going to take him home.
And you this was in Corbin.
I lived in Corbin.
Did he seem to be acting strange or anything from the times you'd seen him before?
Shelby acting strange? No, not. I mean, he wasn't really. He was just matter of fact, and I mean, it was almost unreal that he, there wasn't any remorse. It was just like he'd been to work or something. Like it was just another day for him.
Was he secretive about it when he talked to you? Or did
Not
he say
secretive
not
at
to
all.
tell anybody, or if you tell anybody you'll be sorry or anything like that?
No, not secretive at all. He asked me bluntly if I knew anybody else he could rob. He wasn't. He had no fear or no remorse. And that's. I talked to Ernie after they left, and so we've got to do something. And Ernie was wanting to get out of his presence as well, and we were going to go to Harlan that night and talk to the police.
Did he say anything about his brother Ernie? That any intentions or anything? Did he say anything about Ernie in your presence that night or later?
Later on the phone, he said Ernie. The next morning I actually talked to Shelby on the phone and got a recording of it. He said that Ernie acted funny, but no, not that night. He didn't tell me anything about Ernie.
Shelby said Ernie was acting funny.
Yes.
Did he say what he was going to do about that?
I don't recall him saying anything to me about that.
So you talked to Ernie and you all were concerned. Is that what you're telling the jury?
Yes, we were definitely concerned, and Ernie returned to my house later that night, and we discussed it and everything, and we went to Harlan County. We left Corbin, went to Harlan County, and
That
met
night?
with
That
yes,
very night?
Yes, sir.
Very night after he was there telling you what he'd done?
Yes, sir. And we met with Detective Cornett, and
Detective Cornett here?
yes, sir, Detective Cornett, and it was the sheriff of Harlan County at that point. If you said his name, I'd know it. I can't remember his name.
That's okay.
It's
We met with Detective Cornett
yes,
and with the sheriff of Harlan County.
The sheriff of Harlan
At the
County.
time.
Yes, both were present.
You all had reached.
Marvin Lipford.
Yeah. And so, I didn't want to put words in your mouth.
Right, I understand.
And so, did you give a statement to Detective Cornett?
I did.
When you gave your statement, was anyone else present?
Only Marvin Lipford. We took
The
Ernie
sheriff?
and I gave separate statements.
So you didn't, your story was your story and you were questioned individually and Ernie was questioned individually? Is that what you're
Absolutely.
saying?
Absolutely.
You said it was after midnight?
I would say it was after midnight. Yes, sir.
1 a.m. or something like that?
Yes.
Given that statement and when you were cooperating with the police, with trying to try to keep from anything else happening, did you have any other concerns, anything that that Shelby had told you about killing any other people?
Actually, Shelby had bragged about killing 9 people to me. He said, it's easy for him. He gets a thrill out of it. I didn't really, I didn't believe that. I don't understand that, so that's part of my non-belief. But
When he was telling you about killing Ronnie King, did he seem to be getting a thrill out of telling you that?
yes, he was very excited. He was, I would say, amped up. He was, moving around, and he was very excited.
So, as soon as you can, you go to Harlan and contact law enforcement.
Yes, and we both give our statements, and during our statement, I told Detective Cornett that night, Shelby was very open, and I'm sure I could get a tape recorder and ask him about it, and he would be very open again. I was positive of that.
Did you get a tape recorder?
Yes, sir.
Did you tape Shelby Shell when he called you?
Yes, sir.
And did you give that conversation, that tape, and that recorder to Detective Cornett?
Yes, sir. As soon as I hung up the phone with Shelby and the recording was complete, I called Detective Cornett and told him I had the tape, and Detective Cornett immediately came from Harlan through Corbin and picked up the cassette, him and another lady, a state trooper.
Your Honor, if I may, I'm going to ask the evidence officer with the evidence to look in the evidence for the tape recorder and the recording. And I think this is
You can object. As an object, here's an agent.